Good evening and welcome to Aging with Attitude. My name is Alan Levin and our guest this evening is Dan Starks. He's an expert on personal defense and he's the head of Starks Training Institute. Welcome once again, Dan.
Always a pleasure to be here.
What have you got for us?
So enjoy working with senior citizens because I'm becoming one.
Very good.
My dad's 88 years old, though, so I understand the senior citizen generation.
Very good. What have you got for us tonight?
Well, I want to talk about the whole issue of self-defense and looking at the practical application of self-defense from the point of view of firearms and how firearms affects people. Let's just talk about self-protection and self-defense for a second. Self-protection is everything you do before something happens. Lock your doors, get a security system, so on and so forth. Self-defense is now point of contact. Self-defense is you and the bad guy. And what people have to understand is you become a victim, you being whoever, become a victim because the criminal has chosen you. The criminal says, okay, here's a person who's available, accessible, vulnerable, and have something of value. A lot of times when criminals approach you, they don't approach you being vicious and fierce. They may approach you and say, excuse me, sir, I'm lost. Can you tell me what time it is? I'm looking for a bus. And what they're doing is they're getting in your space. In a self-defense situation, the most lethal weapon you have is your mind. So if I can get in your space and get you thinking about something else, get you focused on something else, it allows me to get close enough to you to see if you really are my next victim. I look at us on the criminal side. What we are to criminals is inventory. Okay? Criminals go out and commit a crime. They know where they're going to go, how they're going to get there, what they're going to take, how they're going to get away, what they're going to do with what they take. But more importantly than anything else, they know what they're willing to do to you to get what they want. And if they leave no witness, their chances of getting caught is almost non-existent. Unfortunately, I look at myself, okay? If I became a victim, it wouldn't just affect me. It would affect my 88-year-old father, my two sisters, my daughter, my granddaughter, Connie, all of the people the guy I buy my clothes from, the guy, all of those people are affected by someone becoming a victim. So over the years, I have looked at all different means of protecting oneself. And I've come down to understand that the most effective, practical way to protect yourself is to learn how to use a firearm, okay? And I know there's a lot of concerns and there's a lot of issues because people have children and so on and so forth. But let me just say one thing. This country, the United States of America, is still a free country and we still have a Second Amendment. I say still because we're losing our rights. In the 20th century, throughout the world, over 59 million citizens were slaughtered by their governments after the governments took away their guns. We all understand Hitler and the 7 or 8 or 9 million Jews. That was just part of them. It's happening in this country, which is kind of interesting because it's gotten a lot of people to look at firearms who never would have considered firearms even a year ago. In the last 12 months, I would have to say that I've seen about a 45% increase in the number of women interested in learning how to use a gun.
Did you say 6 months?
In the last 12 months.
12 months, I'm sorry.
It's gotten very, very strong since the election, but it really started probably in the spring, summer of 2008. And a lot of people are coming to me to learn how to use firearms because of the crime in the city that we live in, and because of the fact that they're afraid that the legislation is going to take away their right to own a gun. I've been teaching firearms, how to use firearms for 25 years at least. North Carolina gave us back a constitutional right in 1995, and that was the right to carry a concealed weapon. Since that law has gone into effect, literally tens of thousands of people have gone out and taken the course because they want to be able to transport a gun in public and not have to worry about whether it's exposed or not. I look at the concealed carry permit as a very, very important document. I think the least important thing it does, while it's still of great importance, is it allows you to carry a gun. I think the most important thing it does is you get stopped by a police officer, okay, and you pull out your driver's license, your concealed carry permit. It says to that police officer that you have passed a local background check, a state background check, a federal FBI background check. You've passed as many background checks as the police officer has. So now that man knows that you're a good person.
Mm-hmm.
People come to my class for lots and lots of reasons. I've had people there because their mother was killed in a home invasion or their boyfriend was murdered. But a lot of people come because they're just interested in learning how to protect themselves. I tell people, if you're in my class to learn how to protect yourself, that's fine. You're not there to learn how to shoot somebody, okay? I don't carry a gun so I can shoot somebody. I carry a gun so that I have a great tool of defense that will hopefully allow me to get away from some evil person. Firearm being a remote control weapon, if somebody approaches me and attacks me and I take the gun out, I don't have to wait until they're in contact distance. I can stop them 3, 4, 5, 10 feet away, which then allows me to get away from them. In any situation, if you own a firearm and you shoot somebody or point it at somebody, you're going to have to call the police. All right? Let's assume that you shoot somebody. Not something you want to do, but it happens. The family of the person you shot might sue you. You're going to walk into court and you're going to think, well, listen, I'm a law-abiding citizen. Jury's going to understand me. And all of a sudden, this woman is talking about her 15-year-old child that you shot. And they're saying, well, my child was really a sweet child and he was really a good child. If he robbed me with a gun, tried to kill me, he's not a good person. But that's what the jury's hearing. By having the concealed carry certificate, it says, hey, we're looking at a person who's taken the highest level of armed, certified training a citizen of North Carolina can get. So not only do you understand firearms, you understand firearms safety, you understand use of force, in other words, when it's legal for you to use deadly force, and you've also shown proficiency on a range with a gun. In other words, you're knowledgeable and trained. To me, that's a very important document. Now, what's the advantage of a concealed weapon? As a criminal, I'm out in public and I'm looking for targets of opportunity. And so I go to a mall, South Park Mall, North Lake Mall, whatever. I walk around and I find a woman who's shopping in Nordstrom's. And she's attractive, she's got nice clothes, maybe she's got a little age on her. And I think, okay, there's my next potential target. So I follow her around the mall, and I see her reach in her wallet, and she's got credit cards. And I see her reach in her wallet, and she's got cash. She's got a cell phone. She's got all of the trappings of wealth. So I say, okay, she's going to be my next target. So she walks out of the mall. A lot of times, as a criminal, I might not act on robbing her in the mall parking lot because of video surveillance.
Mm-hmm.
Criminals understand there's video surveillance all over. They don't want to get caught on camera. So instead, what they'll do is they'll say, okay, she's my next victim. I'll follow her home. Because, Alan, you and I both know what happens when you get home. Oh, I'm home. And you're so thankful. You let your guard down. So now, this woman gets out of her car. She's got her bag from Nordstrom's. Guy walks up and approaches her with a knife or a gun. She reaches in her purse and takes out a gun. He didn't know she had it. It was concealed. Now, not only does she pull out a gun, but she pulls out a tool, because that's all a firearm is. A firearm is a tool, okay? It doesn't make people evil. It doesn't cause societal problems. It doesn't cause crime in school. It's a tool. But and this is plastic, if I gave you that gun and you held it, and I attacked you and you pointed that gun at me, Alan, at that point in time, you have a tool in your hand that allows you a 92% chance of surviving just because you have it. Every year in this country, 3 to 4 million people, just like you and I, use firearms to protect their home, their children, their loved ones, their grandchildren. Less than 8% of those people ever actually have to shoot somebody.
Let me raise two issues that you hear about as reasons not to own a gun and have a gun in your home. I just want to throw them out to you and see what you think. Reason number one I hear is that if you have a gun in your home, a bad guy will break into your home, find the gun, and he'll end up using it on you. That's reason number one. Mm-hmm. Reason number two is that you're going to accidentally, through misjudgment, you're going to shoot a member of the family. You know, mom is lying in bed. There's no father in the house. She's in bed, and suddenly she hears a noise. And what it is her 15-year-old son has come downstairs to raid the refrigerator, and she, in a panic, grabs a gun and starts blasting away. No more 15-year-old son. So those are the two arguments. A family member getting shot through misjudgment or accident, crook coming in and using the gun on you. What's your answer to those?
Those are both good questions, and I get asked that all the time. First of all, if we're going to have a gun in the house, we have to understand it has almost more value than cash from the theft possibility. Mm-hmm. If I break into your house, Alan, I'm looking for cash, I'm looking for jewelry, and I'm looking for guns. Cash obviously has its own face value. Jewelry, maybe 10%. All right. Firearms, 300 to 400% more than retail, because criminals can't buy them legally. So you need to store a firearm in such a way, first of all, that a criminal can't get to it, and at the same time you can get to it in a difficult situation. There's a complete line of handgun safes that are made to be able to biometrically with your fingerprints or an electronic combination that you could bolt to the floor. You wake up and you hear that noise, you reach down, remove your firearm. Okay? Now, how is that criminal going to get the gun away from you if you're going to use it? You see? And that's my belief. People say, well, my husband doesn't want me to have a gun because he's afraid the criminal will take it away from me. Criminal's going to take it away from you if you're not, A, trained, and B, willing to use it. Okay? Remember, we've got 92% of the people in this country who are ever forced to point a gun at somebody never even have to pull the trigger. Because, even as it was in the Wild West, it is today, a firearm is an equalizer. You take a 65-year-old woman walking out to her car, and 2 or 3 punks come up and attack her. She takes that gun out. She is now equal to or greater than those 3 punks. If they're smart, they're going to run away. And if they run away, she's won the battle. She still needs to file a police report, however. She needs to file a police report because even though she didn't pull the trigger, pointing a gun at a human being in that situation is using deadly force.
Didn't know that. Interesting.
Yes. And see, and if she doesn't report it, and one of the punks does, or some innocent bystander sees her, then all of a sudden she becomes the criminal. Because you see, a criminal wouldn't call the police department and say, hey, I just used a gun. A law-abiding citizen would. So what that does, it really kind of addresses your second question. Training, okay? If somebody's going to pick up a gun and just start shooting it randomly around the house because they hear a noise, they don't need a gun. They don't. But, for instance, when I leave my home, before and as I'm entering my home, I have a signal that I send to the inside that says, it's Dan. I receive a signal from the people inside that say, we know it's you, it's okay. Now, is that silly? I don't think so. It doesn't, and I'm not talking Morse code and everything, and I'm obviously not going to disclose it here, but I've done that for years. So if a woman wakes up and hears her son down in the kitchen getting food and she starts shooting it, she probably doesn't need that gun. Okay? But if she's home and the kid's asleep and somebody breaks in, let's assume it's not a 15-year-old kid, let's assume it's a 15-month-old kid. And she wakes up and somebody's heading down the room to that child who is not old enough to protect themselves and not functionally able to get away from themselves. She now has a tool that allows her to protect her family. I believe that having a firearm is critical to being able to protect yourself. But just owning a tool does not make you knowledgeable. That would be like saying to your child who's 16 years old, here's the keys, there's NASCAR, go race a car.
Right.
There's a 600 horsepower car that'll do 180 miles, good luck. That would be stupid.
Right.
Well, the same thing with a firearm.
Right. In support of what you're saying, Dan, on both of those issues, I was thinking as I drove in this morning that despite that fear that people have about crooks coming in, taking the gun and using it, or somebody shooting a member of the family, I never recall reading a single episode of that happening, nor, as a matter of fact, have I read very much about people being hurt by guns in road rage episodes.
No. Understand, to own a gun, you've got to do some kind of background check.
Right.
You've got to have some credentials. So, in other words, you're not going to be a criminal. Now, I'm not saying that a crazy person at a fit of rage couldn't grab a gun and shoot somebody, but they could grab a knife, they could grab a baseball bat, they could grab a brick. What I'm saying is a person who's trained. Now, the media doesn't often talk about the good side of firearms, and that's bothered me since I was a child. But just this past January out in Montana, father was home with his 11-year-old daughter. Mom was soon going to be home from work. Dad said to his daughter, I'm going to run to the store, get some groceries, and make dinner. I'm going to lock the door. Don't let anybody. I'll be back in 20 minutes. He leaves. The little girl's at home. About 5 minutes later, she hears somebody pulling the driveway, looks out the door, and here comes two nefarious-looking characters walking up to the door. This little girl goes upstairs into her father's closet and gets her shotgun. Now, this little 11-year-old girl had learned to shoot skeet, trap. She was actually a state champion. She positioned herself at the top of the stairs. These two thugs broke in, couldn't find anything downstairs, headed up the steps. She told them to stop. They didn't. They kept coming. She shot the first guy. Second guy didn't stop. She shot the second guy. When the police got there, the car that they had been stolen. So they went to the house of the car where it was stolen, and in the living room lay on the pool of blood the 57-year-old man who owned the car. 57-year-old man is dead in his living room by the same two thugs that died at the hands of this girl because she had training, she had knowledge. We don't hear about those things because I don't know why. Now, I'm not saying give guns and leave guns around the house. What I'm saying is make a decision and say, okay, this is what I'm willing to do. Because you see, if something happens to a mother, well, she's not the only victim. The children are victims. The husband's a victim. Her parents are victims. His parents are victims. Her sisters, brothers, cousins, nephews, nieces, and the victimology just expands based on the size of the family. And I can guarantee you that the criminal who attacked her has been arrested 20, 30, 40 times. If I'm a criminal in North Carolina and I decide this afternoon to go out and commit a violent assault on somebody, and I find that person in an ATM machine or getting their groceries out of the car or walking into and I attack that person, going into that crime, I have an 80% chance of never getting caught. 80% chance.
Yeah. Let me ask you something here. Let's take somebody who goes through your training course, gets a concealed carry permit, and has done all of the right things.
Yes.
Let's take that person. Can you tell me what sorts of mistakes, if any, such a person like that makes in real life, and how those mistakes might be prevented? I'm talking about mistakes involving guns.
Sure. Well, I can tell you the biggest mistake most people make with firearms is they don't handle them often enough, and they don't train with them often enough, okay? A firearm's a tool, all right? That's all it is. A handgun is a tool. The advantage of it, by the size, it allows me to carry it. Because of the size of it, it's not necessarily the most effective tool, but again, it works very, very well. Problem is, a lot of people will go out and get a gun. They'll go out to go to the range, and they'll shoot at a target, and they'll maybe do very well and get very comfortable, okay? But understand, all that does is give you the document that says you understand and you can buy or carry. I firmly believe that in order to be proficient with anything, you have to handle it all the time. You have to train with it. You have to be comfortable with it. Because, Alan, in a stressful situation, and that's what it's going to be, somebody's trying to kill you, abduct your child, whatever, it's going to be stressful. Your gross motor skills are going to deteriorate. And if you have very few skills to begin with, they're going to deteriorate to the point where that firearm won't be as functional as it should be. Now, I believe that a person can handle a firearm in their house every day, but in order to do that, they have to have what I call a safe room. And I'm not talking about a room where you go hide, but I'm talking about a room where I can handle that firearm and there's virtually no ammunition of any sort, model. That way, when I pick up the gun, I'm not picking up a loaded gun. I go one step further and I buy training bullets. Okay? There's a lot of different names for them, but they're a 6-pack of bullets, because most guns hold 6 bullets, cost about $12. That way you can load the gun, unload the gun, pull the trigger, handle it. It'll never go bang because they're not real bullets. But it also keeps the gun functional so that it doesn't break. That's the kind of thing. And then people need to be able to say, okay, I've got a gun. I'm used to it. I go out to the range, I put the gun in my hand, put my eye protection on, put my hearing protection on, look at that target, and I line up my sights and I pull the trigger. That's wonderful. But you're not going to walk around the house with a gun in your hand. And the person who's attacking you, God forbid, won't be wearing a target. They're going to be wearing a solid shirt, a shirt and tie, a plaid shirt, no shirt. So if you find yourself conditioned to only pulling a trigger when there's a target in front of your gun, you're probably not going to pull that trigger. And then that becomes a liability. Also, people have the belief that when you shoot somebody, that the person you shoot falls down. I believe that in order to use a firearm, you've got to understand the concept of survival. Survival is multifaceted. First of all, you have to survive physically. I have a student who a year ago, in a self-defense situation, through no choice, had to shoot a man, point-blank range. Shot the man through the heart. Guy ran over, got in his car, and drove home.
My gosh.
Lived almost 3 hours.
My gosh.
9mm bullet through his heart, out his back, 3 hours. In that 3 hours, he could have killed my student. So you need to understand you're not going to stop somebody from pain. So you have to survive physically. After that, you got to survive criminally. You've got to be able to sit down with the district attorney, the grand jury, the crime scene technicians, the police, the media, and explain why you use deadly force. You can't use deadly force just because you want to. There's a certain set of rules. The problem with that, Alan, is the person that you're trying to describe your fear to is not standing behind you as a burglar's coming up the stairs.
Right.
They're sitting across from you in a well-lit, well-ventilated, non-threatening environment, drinking a cup of coffee and going, yeah, so what's the big deal?
Mm-hmm.
After you survive criminally, then you have to survive civilly. You have to be able to go into a court of law and convince the jurors that your use of force was unmitigated, not excessive, and you had no other choice. After you survive civilly, you got to survive financially. It costs money to be able to defend yourself. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of money. And I have found over the years that if one has the proper homeowner's insurance and a proper umbrella policy, that's how you fund those kinds of things. And then after you survive financially, then you got to survive emotionally. You got to get back up the next day and go on and do a television show.
Right. It is a real decision. There's a lot involved from just pulling out a gun, let alone even just pulling the trigger.
Yes.
Based on what you said before.
Yes.
About the old lady who's coming out of her home and a couple of thugs come at her and she waves a gun at them and they take off. Yeah. She may be answerable too.
Oh, sure.
Well, I want to ask you something, Dan. I heard years ago about a consumer version of a taser. It disabled people with an electric shock.
Yes.
I guess at a distance of maybe a few feet, I'm not sure. Is such a thing available? I realize it doesn't have the long range capability of a gun, but how effective, how useful is such a thing?
Tasers, you see the police department use them all the time. A taser virtually, it's almost a firearm. Instead of firing a bullet, it fires an electronic projectile that's then connected back to the unit via a set of wires. Okay? When it hits the target, then the person operating it hits a button, it sends a tremendous surge of electricity through the person, causes their body to do all sorts of things, and they fall down. Excellent tool of self-defense. Unfortunately, when a police officer is issued one, they take him into training and the guy pulls the trigger. And they take him into training and the guy pulls the trigger. They take him into training and the guy pulls the trigger. Somebody's paying for that. Those cartridges, which have a one-time use, are about $25 to $30 a piece.
Okay.
So people go out and buy this tool, load it up, charge it up, and keep it next to their bed and say, okay, I'm ready. I don't believe that the first time I'm going to try something should be when I'm trying to keep somebody from killing me. So the downside is, until the industry figures out a way to come up with a reasonably priced training unit, that I think it could become a liability. Owning one and learning how to use it, I think it's fabulous. You eliminate the issue of shooting somebody you don't want to, having bullets go through walls, and so on and so forth. But right now, I don't think it's economically feasible for 99% of the people.
Yeah.
Excellent tool.
Yeah.
Excellent tool.
Very
That's why the training is so critical. In the North Carolina course, it gives you that training, and then you can actually use that document to purchase a handgun. And right now, you can use that document and you can travel through 38 states with a gun in your car, on your body, legally.
That's the number of concealed carry states, 38
That's the number
of 50.
of concealed carry states that will recognize ours. There's a thing called reciprocity, okay? North Carolina recognizes South Carolina, South Carolina recognizes North Carolina.
With that, I'm afraid we have to close off, Dan. Once again, it's been terrific to talk to you. You're such an informative guy. And it's an area that people don't like to think about very much.
No, they don't.
It's kind of in the back of our minds.
Frightens them.
You've been listening to Aging with Attitude. My name is Alan Levin. Our guest this evening has been Dan Starks of Starks Training Institute. And we're here the second and third Saturday of the month at 8:30. Be well.